Good afternoon and welcome to our Open Day live stream. My name's Max. I'm a student at the Maastricht Science program, originally from South Africa, but now studying here in the Netherlands. I've been studying here for around a year and I'm currently focusing on biology, as I want to be a marine biologist in the future. But if you have any questions about any of the other study choices, please feel free to ask them in the chat, and together with a member of staff, I'll do my best to answer these questions. Right now though, I'm here with two other students. We've got Matthew and Megan, and we will be talking about life in Maastricht as a student. So Megan, can you tell me what your first impression of the Maastricht Science program was?
I've got to admit I was very nervous coming into MSP. The idea of coming to university was very kind of scary, but thanks to the great community here at MSP, I was welcomed in very quickly, found a good group of friends, realised that university wasn't all that scary and neither was science within university. So it's a great program and it was a good start of the year.
Great stuff. And Matthew,
Yep.
can you tell me about your favourite aspects of our program?
Well, in MSP, like Megan said, it's a very small community, and we do have a lot of people from different backgrounds. So it is really nice that we can mix and mingle with different people and see the point of view of other people from other countries. But also because the timetable is so flexible, you get to choose what you want to study, and you don't necessarily have to study things that you aren't that interested in.
Yeah, as you said, we're kind of an international program, so do you have friends from all over the world? Can you give us some examples of places they're from?
I'm from Singapore. I have friends from Thailand, Nepal, Bangladesh, Haiti, Belgium, the UK, and a lot of different places around the world, so it is a very international community.
Sounds fantastic. Can you, Matthew, I know you play rugby.
Yeah.
Do you do any other extracurricular activities, or can you tell us a little bit about the rugby that you do?
Yeah, so the extracurricular activities offered by UM is actually quite broad. We do have different sports. We have student associations. Like you said, I'm in the rugby team. But we also have things such as the climbing clubs. We have football. We have hockey. A lot of different sports. So I think there's a little bit of everything for everyone else.
And does that tie in nicely with your studies, or is it a little bit stressful?
I think when you come to university, you have to juggle it a little bit. But most of the clubs are very, in a way, forgiving if you don't show up. If you have exams, they have breaks for exams, study breaks, and it does fit in really nicely, and it helps you to meet other people as well.
And Megan, what do you do within the university or outside of it?
So I am part of the Aperture Board, which is the student association of MSP. And in general, we organise parties and events and lectures and all sorts of things outside of your studies to give students a little bit of a break from their studies itself. So me personally, I'm the treasurer, so I'm in charge of that side of things. But it's great fun, and I pretty much spend my day either studying in class or doing things related to Aperture.
All right.
So,
great. Can you tell us a little bit more about Maastricht, though? What is the city like?
Maastricht is a lovely little city. It's a small little Dutch city with lots of cute little cobbled roads and all sorts of things like that. It's a very international student town, but it also has a very big culture with like Dutch culture, especially things like carnival and that sort of thing. But it's a lovely place to at least start your life. It's not too scary, not too big of a city, so you get thrown in, and it's a nice place to start. Yeah.
And I know that firsthand. Great. So, just to wrap up, Matt, can you give us any advice to some prospective students about coming to Maastricht, coming to our program?
I think talking to a lot of other students coming into MSP, a lot of them start off not knowing what they want to do. So I think if you're not too sure which science you really want to fall into, especially because there's some interdisciplinary ones, it is nice to come to MSP and just get a nice gauge of everything. You can just do a little bit of bio, a little bit of chemistry, and then hopefully along your journey in MSP, you can figure out which field you really want to enter.
Yep. I mean, there's also the possibility of combining two fields or things like that. Obviously, it's a very tailored to yourself kind of program, right?
And in MSP, we also have a lot of opportunities for students to come down and follow another student or have a lecture or just sit in the normal classes. So for example, one of the things that we do, like the open days, we also have experience days, and we also have student for days, and that's where you follow a student in MSP that has the same similar backgrounds or interests as you. and then you get to see what it's like.
All right. Thank you very much, you two. And now we'll get back to the live stream. Welcome to the Open Day live stream. If you can't join us here on this beautiful Saturday, I'll be interviewing a couple of members of staff today, going through some aspects of our program. They'll be explaining them, and we'll also be showing you some videos just to explain and elaborate some of the things that are mentioned today. My first guest on the couch today is Roy Erkens, a lecturer in evolutionary biology. Good day, Roy.
Hello, Max. Hi.
And we will just be explaining what the program is about, just general things about the Maastricht Science Program. So, Roy, can you explain what the Maastricht Science Program is?
Yes, I can. So the Maastricht Science Program is a liberal arts and science program that focuses on natural sciences. And liberal arts and science means that you have actually quite some freedom to pick your own classes, to pick your own courses, and also that there's plenty of room for personal development. I think these are the two main issues. So that means that, yeah, there's no predetermined path that you will take here.
Yeah, I also have that experience within my field. I mean, I'm focusing on biology, but I obviously have the freedom to choose chemistry or physical courses if I wanted to do that. Yeah. Do we do anything other than lectures? Do we have something specific that...
Well, the program uses several ways of teaching. Yep. So we have normal coursework where you basically learn the theory about what is known in a particular field. So if you take a class of evolutionary biology, I will teach you what is the current standard in evolutionary biology. But that's theory about what is known. Next to that, we want you to apply that theory. So we have skills classes in which you can apply the theory you learn in courses to a practical problem. And that's more called research-based learning. So by doing research, you learn that. So those are two elements that you normally do for 2 times 8 weeks. And at the end of every half a year, we have a project. And in that project, you get a research question, and you need to basically find out what the answer is to that research question.
Yeah.
And that's completely open. So there's not a protocol that you just follow and then it's done. So you, with 6 to 8 students, need to really think about, yeah, how are we going to solve this? What do we need? What kind of equipment? What is the setup of the experiment? And run it. Yeah. And that's a very worthwhile experience to have. So, coming back to the projects, we'll have another guest later, Linnea, who will elaborate more on the project period. But now I spoke to our dean, Thomas Clay, yes, about the program as well. And I think we'll run a short video on him explaining why the students and society actually benefit from a program that we run here. Hi. My name is Max Schwartz, and I'm here with Thomas Clay, the Dean of the Maastricht Science Program. And I'm going to just be asking him a couple of questions. So Thomas, why does a liberal arts and science program focus only on sciences?
What you see is that liberal arts and science programs are very good at attracting students, preparing them for their jobs, for their future, making them active and having a working community. But in a broad liberal arts and science program, it's very difficult to get enough content to get people ready for master programs in chemistry, physics, biology. So what we did is we took the best of both worlds. We took sciences, high-level science, and combined it with liberal arts and sciences in a single program.
All right. And what is the added value for students and for our society to have a program like we do?
The added benefit is that you are prepared for your future. The world is rapidly changing, problems are very multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and society needs people who can communicate and work across boundaries. And by having a program like this, you as students are prepared for that future. You can communicate with others across disciplines, you can do research together, you can sit together, discuss problems, and can face all kinds of things which will happen in the future.
All right. Can you tell us a little bit about how science is evolving in Maastricht?
Science is rapidly evolving. So we started with this science program now about 6.5 years ago. There are now many students and we see all kinds of new programs appearing. So there are new master programs coming. We are going to start with an own faculty in the near future. So it's very rapidly expanding to a major part of this university.
Great. So we just watched the video about Thomas Clay explaining the benefits of such a program, and as you heard, that's quite student-centered. So what kind of formats do we use to make this a very student-centered kind of program?
Yeah, so we have several formats. One is PBL, problem-based learning, and these are small study groups in which you, as students, sit together in 12 to 15 students and work on a problem. So it's really essential, really you thinking about what do I know, what don't I know, and what do I need to learn, and then you yourself find answers. So it's really about the student and you as a student learning about the topic, and not me as a teacher just dumping it on you and you memorizing it. So that makes that makes it very student-centered. And like we said, the research-based learning, because you as a student do research, you also make it very student-centered.
Are all the PBL tutorials run the same?
No, we have a diversity that depends a bit on who's teaching it. I teach my classes standing up, for instance, because that makes students much more active. Some other colleagues, they for instance give you assignments to work on, which is also a problem. So there's different varieties, but the core is always that you, as a student, do a lot of work. And that's the basis of this whole personalized study curriculum. You need to do work, not only in selecting your courses, but also in terms of being active in class.
Yeah.
And that can be quite difficult, also in terms of your personalized curriculum, to exactly know where you're going. And that's why we, for instance, have academic advising.
Yeah, that's a good point, academic advising. But just to come back to the open curriculum, do you just start straight away with an open curriculum, or when you come here, how do you choose exactly what you want to do?
Yeah, so the first half year of a program is the only part that's really fixed, and that has several reasons. One, you come in as a student to a new program, so you also want to socially integrate. So the first half year you can meet your peers, all the new first years, make new friends, socially integrate. But you can also explore the natural sciences a bit. So you will do physics, you will do chemistry, biology, maths. And in this way you get a good overview of what is the science offering at MSP, and also how it differs from what you know from high school, because maybe biology at MSP might be different from what you know from high school. And that can give you an indication. I
mean, personally, when so many international people come together, there's bound to be differences within the high school curriculums.
Yes.
So the first 6 months are there to kind of bring everyone onto the same level. I mean, we have people from all over the world, Thailand, Singapore. I'm from South Africa, as I mentioned before.
Yeah, that's another reason to do it. So everybody has, at the end of this first half year, an equal level of knowledge.
Yeah.
And at that moment, that's the first time when you need to select courses, and then you have a better view of what you want, or maybe which areas you still need to explore to be able to understand if you really like that area or not.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Now we will cut to a video about the life at Maastricht Science Program, the building itself, and our faculty. Thank you very much, Roy.
You're very much welcome.
Oh God, did I cut it? Welcome back to the live stream. Sitting on the couch, our second guest, Erik Steen Redeker,
Max.
a lecturer in synthetic bio, and he works in the lab very often.
Yeah.
He's going to be talking to us about academic advising, one of the aspects of the Maastricht Science program that Roy mentioned. So Eric, can you explain to us why we have academic advising?
Yeah, I can. It is like Roy said, at the MSP we have an open curriculum.
Yep.
So that means that all the students can build their own curriculum with courses they want to choose based on what they want to do in life and based on their interests. But since we have such an overwhelming amount of courses, we help the students to build that curriculum based on what they want to do in the future, basically.
What fields do we offer courses in?
We offer courses in basically all kinds of sciences that can go from biology to physics to chemistry. And since we are very multidisciplinary, the approach is multidisciplinary, students can choose from all different topics based on the specific master they want to go, or maybe based on what they really interested in.
So if someone comes here doesn't really have that much of an idea of what they want to do in the future, yeah, it's possible to take courses in multiple fields and see where your strong points lie, things like that?
Yes. And maybe that's where the academic advising comes in, because we want to be sure that students build a coherent set of courses to go somewhere, not only choose courses that are very interesting, but also it has to make sense in the end. Mm-hmm. So that's why we have a dedicated advisee, or the advisee has a dedicated advisor. Mm-hmm. So all the staff members of the MSP advises a certain set of students based on their interests. So we as advisors have the same interest as the students, at least that is the whole goal. So we know what we talk about, since we have the same interest.
And it's also quite personalized, right? I mean, like, it's not you're an advisor and you have maybe 200 students that you need to run around.
It is small scale, exactly. But we have multiple advisees, but it's on a small scale and very personal, because we meet on a one-to-one basis. So we have a very personal appointment with the students at regular times, and we try to build a relationship basically with the students over time. So we get to know them. We not only talk about the study itself, but also extracurricular or extra things they do in real life. So we build a relationship. And
so an academic advisor can also help you, I mean, not only with studious things, but if you have issues
anything
about
related with study
studies
and everything that's needed outside the study.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And is it possible for a student to meet with their academic advisor whenever they want, or?
Yes. Right. We have regular meetings twice a year. So normally in November and one in the end of May, April, May. So those are the normal meetings. But my door, for example, is always open. So if students have questions about anything related to the program, they can always come to me. If they want to do a master degree somewhere, or if they want to do their bachelor thesis abroad, they can ask for advice. Who should I ask? Maybe I know some people in the world of science that can help with a place for doing a master's thesis, bachelor thesis.
I mean, that's another great aspect of like the program in a whole. We're international lecturers from all over the world, so the connections are
not only the students come from
all
over the place, but also the staff members come from all over the place. So we kind of know many places in the world that are interesting to do research in. Yeah.
So it's a very good aspect of the program that you can actually, you don't have to come in afraid of, oh, I'm not sure exactly what I want to do. You can literally have someone guide you along the way. It's one of the reasons that I chose this program as my study choice, actually. Great, well, thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
We're just going to run a short video about academic advising again, just to explain some aspects that Eric maybe didn't mention. Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you.
My name is Chris Pauling. I'm a lecturer in the science program in the topic of physics. And part of my job includes being the coordinator of academic advising in the science program, which means that I'm coordinating 20 advisors and 260 students in their advising process, ensuring that they can make informed choices about their curriculum, but also making sure that they have pastoral guidance and support while they're here in the university. The role of an academic advisor is really being the connection between the students and the university, in the sense that they, in an open curriculum, have to make informed choices about what they're studying here and how that will impact their future possibilities in terms of master programs, curriculum, and what makes a good coherent curriculum for them when they graduate. In their very first day at the science program, we give the students a questionnaire. We ask them to give us some indication about, well, what their academic aspirations are, what they're interested in, how certain they are about their studies, about different elements of the science program. And then we use that to assign somebody who has either a very similar subject area interest or somebody who we think will be a good match. Maybe they have similar personality traits, maybe they have a similar background. So a student might start in chemistry and then move maybe more into biology or into physics. It happens for all kinds of reasons. Where that happens, where the staff and the student no longer have a direct affinity, we really like to keep the relationship going between the advisor and the student, but it might be that for more subject-specific information they have to go and find another source of advice. Or of course they come to my office where I have an overview of all the different areas and different people they can speak with, and so we use that as a way to ensure that people can still get good advice. Advising meetings have to take place 2 times per year, but in many cases take place many more times. The 20 or so staff members have a very close affinity with the program, so they see their students, their advisees a lot, just from virtue of being in and around the university, which means that there's a lot of informal advising moments, a 5-minute chat in the queue for lunch or while walking to the next class. Some students need more enhanced, let's say, advice, maybe in times of applying for master's programs, or if they're having some difficulties in the university, then we can set up more regular meetings. Some sessions take 5 minutes where we just sit down and we go, okay, are you finished here? Yeah, pretty much I'm finished. Tick, 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 sign the box to start the bachelor thesis, and the student leaves again. Sometimes the meetings can take even longer. Normally they're scheduled for 30 minutes, but well, just 5 minutes ago I had a meeting and I just rescheduled another 30 minutes later today, because we want to really make sure that we focus and have a very clear agreement about the direction of this individual's curriculum. Advising is it sounds like a very serious and daunting prospect to a lot of people, but it's also the moment which, well, a lot of staff and students find to be the most fun. But you can see them sitting there and really making informed choices about their curriculum and really thinking about, okay, what do I want to study for the next 6 months? And it's really, for some students, it's really a conflicting decision. They want to study so many different things. Maybe they want to change direction of their curriculum. I think the fact that you can design, you have so much freedom as an individual student here, is of course one of our unique selling points, and being a part of making that run smoothly is also a very enjoyable part of my job. So.
Welcome back. I have our third guest here on the couch with us. It's Bart van Gunsman. He works at the Brightlands Kapoenstraat campus and is an assistant professor here at the Maastricht Science program. So we will now be talking about the Kapoenstraat campus, which is our high-tech labs close to Sittard, which is 20 kilometers north of Maastricht. And Bart will explain a bit more about this campus. Can you tell us more about the facilities?
Well, we've got a brand new building, the Centre Court, and the Centre Court is located at the Brightlands Kapoenstraat campus. And it's located there because there are also a lot of companies surrounding it. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to incorporate everything we teach into the industry already and to link it to the industry of the Limburg region. So
it kind of already gives students a working laboratory setting, as in when they go into working forces, they already know it's familiar to them, right?
Exactly, yeah. If you look out of the window, you see DSM, you see Sabic, you see all the big players in chemistry already throughout your academic career.
And what kind of laboratories do we have?
We've got, for the students, we've got a biology laboratory, we've got a chemistry laboratory, we've got a physics lab, we've got a chemistry lab. So everything that a student needs to learn the ropes of science, we've got.
And do you, sorry. How do you get to these facilities? I mean, I mentioned that it's 20 kilometers away. Is there?
I think the students, they have a public transportation card, and what they do is they can come to the facilities whenever they need to be there, and they use the public transport. Normally they take the train and the bus, and I think it's about a 25-minute journey from Maastricht, where all the theoretical education takes place, to the Kapoenstraat campus, where all the practicalities take place.
You mentioned that students can go there whenever they like, but is there a certain period when they have to be there, or is there a certain time frame?
If you're doing a skill over there, then normally there's a 100% attendance, and then you need to be there all day from 9 to 5.
Only 1 day a week, right?
Only 1 day a week.
Right.
During the project period, so we have 2 times a year, we've got project periods, and then students are actually doing research themselves, and then they tend to come there 3 to 4 times a week, full time.
All right. And sorry about that. What do we actually, is it hands-on work in the labs, or I'm going to throw in the term research-based learning? Is that what the lab is all about? So
what we're trying to do in our educational system is we're trying to mimic reality. So what we do is, if you have an RBL, you got a problem, a task, and you have to solve that with your peers. And also in a practical manner. For instance, at the moment I'm teaching electronics. You have to build an ECG generator. You do that in a pair, and then one day you have to provide me with a working circuit. And at the end of the day, you get an oral exam where you have to explain to me in full detail how it works. You might think, why is that important? Because in your further career, this might happen to you as well. You will be dumped into a research group, and they will ask you, could you build this for me, please? And then one day they expect you to have a working circuit or a working device. We're trying to mimic that already in the educational system.
Sounds like a really great way to do research, I guess, because when I think of conventional university, I'm sure there are laboratory facilities, but it might be cut short within a time limit, whereas here, like Bart mentioned, you stay from 9 until 5 a whole day. So you actually have a long time to experiment and experience your own kind of, tackle the problem in a more in-depth kind of way, right?
Yeah, dependent upon the track that you choose at the Maastricht Science program, 30 to 40% is practical work. And we value that really highly because it's the practical work that these are the skills that you need in your further career. So of course you do need the theory, you do need your backpack of theory, but practical work is highly important.
And can you give us some examples of some labs that run in our program?
I do electronics, but we've got biology labs, we've got chemistry labs, so everything you need for each course that you have, there's also a skill, so there's also a practical.
Great, thank you very much. Just to come back to these strange nodes on your arm, is that this is for the open day, right? So
this is for the open day. So we're actually doing an RBL session right now for prospective students, and we're trying to measure our own muscle activity. I'm always trying to get volunteers. Sadly, most of the time I am the volunteer. So we're trying to measure my muscle activity, and we're trying to link the biology part to the physics part. And I explain the physics part, and Linnea is explaining the biology part behind muscle activity.
So even within a laboratory, there are interdisciplinary. There are different fields that come together. You're not only focusing on like a physics kind of thing. You can mix and match the skills.
Exactly, I think this is highly important. So also, if you look at the practical that we're doing now, we've got chemists who are trying to sneak a peek into physics, but we've got the real physics students only interested in electronics and physics, and we've got the biologists that are interested in the signals that a human body produces, and how should we measure it and how should we interpret it.
Yeah, and this is very good for the future, right? Because if you have a broad spectrum of knowledge within different fields, you're kind of specialized within something that maybe other people who have a general idea of just biology would not have. Yeah. So you can really go into a niche idea.
Yeah, I do think that interdisciplinary has the future. I don't think that solely chemistry or solely physics will survive. It will become more interdisciplinary more and more in the not so far future.
All right, well, thank you very much, Bart. We're just going to show you our amazing facilities at the Brightlands Camelot campus now. So we heard from Roy at the beginning of this session about how innovative the Maastricht Science program is. We're just going to show you another video shortly just to explain this.
Hi, I'm Donna and I teach physics here at the Maastricht Science program. Actually, I teach mostly maths and electronics as well, and I also work for EdLab, which is the university's Department for Education and Innovation.
Hi, my name is Roy. I'm an evolutionary biologist here at the program. I teach at the Maastricht Science program plant biology, outdoor skills and other plant-related topics.
Well, I think we teach in a really changing landscape these days, and it's important to always be evolving our teaching methods in light of new technologies evolving as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. You need to make sure that you adapt to a changing world, and you need to adapt to what students know, and that's why we need to change. We cannot stick to the traditional style of teaching that was dominating universities for such a long time. For my own class, one of the things I like to do, I'm standing right now, but I also like to stand in my classes. In the traditional setting, students sit for a long time, the tutors sit for a long time, and when you sit, you start to rest a bit, and it's not really active in a classroom. And I like to have activity in my classroom because that's good for learning. And that's why I stand up with my students in class. I have them move around a lot, I have them write on whiteboards on the wall to come up with new ideas. And in this way, it becomes really energetic in class, and students like that a lot.
To prepare students for their final exam, I also create online assessments so that the students can test themselves throughout the course. So it's not a surprise when they reach the end of the course and they sit an exam and they find out how well they're doing right at the end of the course. They can also go online, they test themselves, they find out whether their answer is right or wrong, and that means that they can go away and either do more revision or find some help if it's necessary.
One of our other colleagues, Birgit, he has students make videos for other students, and that's a very powerful way of studying topics because you need to understand the topic really well if you want to make a video about it to help other students.
So one of my colleagues, Chris Portley, he allows the students to pick their own type of assessment when they take his course. So that's really different. Instead of saying, oh, you've got to submit an essay and you've got to sit an exam, he lets the students create their own form of assessment. So students have created a video that they've submitted, or they've even created a board game to explain some theoretical concept in physics. So that's really interesting. So in a traditional university where you go to your lectures, you're just listening to information being given to you all of the time. Then when it gets to the end and you have an exam, it can be difficult to remember all of that. Whereas actually if you've had to create your own videos or you've had to teach somebody else, then you remember that material a lot better.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the hallmarks of the Maastricht Science program is that you need to be very active, not only in your classwork, but we also run 4-week projects. And in these 4-week projects, you need to do research. And in that way, you learn a lot about how research works, or you get new knowledge. And at the end, you have a thesis of 1 full semester, which is quite unique. And there also, you need to do very much or a lot of independent work. And you learn a lot about how this works, how to run a project, etc. So this activity, this research-based learning, and we try to also incorporate it in classes. That's really important for a program.
And that they're also really essential skills for the future, because when you go out of the program, so you've got your bachelor's degree, you want to get a job or you want to go on to a master's degree or a PhD, people don't just want people who can think and listen. People want you to be able to act on information and actually do the research and do the practical side. In fact, in the research projects that we offer and in the theses, you also get the opportunity to work with companies. So you're getting real life experience and real life skills to help you for the future as well.
The next guest with me today on the couch is Linnea van Greethuizen, lecturer in biology and the head of the projects, which have been mentioned a few times today. So Linnea, can you explain what a project is?
So twice a year during the academic year, we have a 4-week period, which we refer to as the project period, during which we don't schedule any lectures or PBL sessions or labs, but that are purely devoted to doing research. So students do research in a group of about 6 to 10 students, and goes all the way from designing an experiment. You have a question, you figure out what experiments do I need to do, then you do those experiments, analyze your results, write about it, present your results, and that all in 4 weeks. So it's the entire process of doing science condensed into 4 weeks. Basically hands-on experience.
And are these projects proposed by lecturers or students, or how do these projects come about?
They're often proposed by lecturers, also sometimes by companies or other institutions around Limburg. But it's also possible for students, after they've done a couple of those projects before, to initiate a project themselves. So if they have a nice idea of something they would love to try, they write a proposal, it gets read by all the lecturers, they give them some feedback, they tell them yes or no, so is this a good proposal, should it be running or not? And when it gets a stamp of approval, it'll go into the same bin as all the other project proposals, and students can sign up for them, and then they can run. Yeah.
And are these projects, do they have answers already, or
no?
Why? Like, what is the point of having a project?
No, the idea is that many of these projects are evolving around questions that haven't been answered yet, or not in depth, or not.
So students are figuring things out as much as the lecturers are.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. So that's the idea behind it, to make them different from a skills course. So if you go into the lab, you already have instructions, and the lecturers know what should be coming out of your experiment. That's very much not the case during projects. So a lecturer doesn't have all the answers yet. They can help you with figuring out what kind of tests to do, or the best way to approach things. But they will not tell you, okay, this answer is right or wrong, because they don't know themselves either what's going to come out of that project. And sometimes things don't work. You have to do troubleshooting. And that's actually incredibly valuable, because if you are a researcher, you'll run into the same kind of things. You'll have to, sometimes things don't work, and you have to go back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, how else can I approach this? What else can I do to find an answer to my questions? So it's very creative. It's a lot of freedom, and it's a little scary sometimes, because there's so many options and where do you start. But it's exactly what you'd have to do as a researcher, so that's why we have those projects.
I mean, from first-hand experience, when I did a project with Roy, the first guest, we were it was very much open to what exactly we wanted to do. We were given a rundown. This is generally the idea. But choose your aspects that you want to focus on. So in that sense, it's you're given I guess a blueprint, and you can tweak the things that you want to do, which is a great thing.
So the question can definitely be tweaked a little bit. If it turns out, so our projects, they have different themes. Of course, they're written by biologists and physicists and chemists, so they tend to have different topics. But as a student, you can sign up for each one that you like. So it's not because you've taken a couple of biology courses that you have to take a biology type of project. You can sign up for either, for anything that's on the list, basically. And so depending on who ends up in one group, the project may go into more of a chemistry direction or biology direction or physics direction. It also depends a little bit on who's in the group. So there's also some room for your own interests in there.
And are there different difficulty levels for projects?
Yes. So like our courses, we also offer projects at 1,000, 2,000, and 3,000 level. And basically, it's increased responsibility. So at 1,000 level, they're usually projects that are started by lecturers, and are a little bit simpler in setup, and there's a lot of guidance from the student, from the supervisors to the students. But by the time you get to 3,000 level, there's a lot more independence expected, and a little bit less guidance. Yes.
Sounds very intense and a great idea just to get students into the field.
Yeah, and it prepares you really well for bachelor thesis. So when you have to, so this is in a group, but once you go and do your bachelor thesis, you'll be on your own, but you've experienced already a couple of times this process from the start to the beginning of coming up with an idea all the way to presenting your results.
Great. Well, now we're going to show you a quick video about some students who ran a project and their experiences. Thank you very much, Anea.
You're welcome. Sorry, I'm going. Okay. Like, I found this filter, you really know what filter.
Yeah, okay.
I'm just happy that our project is very straightforward. Yeah. So when you do infrared, what you do that. Hello.
Working at ChemLat is really exciting, except for the times when things go bad. But of course, you have a group to work with, and you have people double checking your work, and you work together to solve the problems. So it always ends up good in the end. It's one of those times of the year where even though everything goes in all directions for 3 weeks, at the end, if you get the right results, it actually feels like you're doing something for a reason, and that's the coolest thing.
The next guest with me on the couch today is John Sloggett, a biology lecturer and the master of the bachelor thesis research. Linnea mentioned the bachelor thesis, but can you explain a bit more about what it is?
Yeah, well, the bachelor thesis is the culmination of basically everything that you do at the MSP. So you've done, at this stage, 2.5 years of courses, skills, and also projects, which have given you some research experience already. And for your last semester, you will be spending that doing a single research project on your own. Obviously supervised, but you won't be working in a group as you did in the other projects.
Are these student chosen, as in, like, because the projects obviously can be given by a lecturer, but what about the bachelor thesis?
Well, the bachelor thesis, you can go and do your bachelor thesis either in Maastricht. You can do it with one of the MSP staff. Yeah. You might choose to go somewhere else in Maastricht, so to one of the other departments. To do it, or you might decide to go outside of Maastricht or even outside of the Netherlands to do it. It's very much up to the students to decide where they want to do it and what they want to do it on. It's yours rather than ours.
And so students can apply all over the world at different research facilities at different universities. Do they have to go through this process by themselves, or?
Yeah, well, they do go through it by themselves, but they receive guidance from us. So if you're interested in working in a particular area, you can go to one of your lecturers here. You can ask them if they know of anybody in that area or whether they might be able to recommend places to go. They can also give you help, for example, with applying, with writing up CVs, that sort of thing as well.
And can you give us some examples of places people have gone and things they've done?
Well, I'm a biologist, I'm a zoologist, so I'm most familiar with those examples, but we have students, for example, we have a student at the moment who's working in South America on coral reefs. That's probably one of our most distant bachelor theses. On the other hand, we have a number of students who are actually working in our labs at Camelot with staff there on a variety of different projects.
And say a student goes abroad, are they then being monitored by someone over there, or is there constant communication between our university and them?
Yes, we have a monitoring system, of course, in place, because ultimately, although you're working outside of Maastricht, you're actually still receiving your grade from Maastricht. So in addition to a research supervisor who will act as your immediate boss and will be in charge of the project, you also have what we call an internal advisor, and the internal advisor monitors how you're getting on, monitors how your relationship with the research supervisor is, can provide you with their help and advice about any issues related to the bachelor thesis. So they're the sort of the person that you can go to on the inside of the MSP, who will keep an eye on you and help you out, and will also help with the grading, although most of that comes from the research supervisor.
Right. And do students who are in their bachelor thesis, do they only focus on that, or do they have to take courses on the side, things like that?
Students usually focus just on the bachelor thesis, so that's the only thing that you're doing in that semester. It is possible if students have missing one course or one practical and they're working in Maastricht, they can do that next to their bachelor thesis if the supervisor is happy for them to do so. But really, the main focus is the bachelor thesis. It's an entire piece of research, and it's like what Linnea was saying about the projects, only drawn out into working on your own and drawn out into a much longer time frame, like many actual real pieces of research are. Well, it is a real piece of research, but it's carried out in a longer time frame.
So this is very much something that a student does so that they can have their own experience and go out into a master's program afterwards.
Yeah, it will give you confidence for your master's program, so that you will really understand what it is to be doing research on your own. The projects are great. I love the projects, but they are of very, very short duration, whereas the bachelor thesis is taking place over a longer period of time, and so you get to experience the whole thing in a sort of a more real time frame. And so you will leave the MSP very well prepared for going on to do further pieces of research in masters and beyond.
And is this graded very heavily? Is like your final, what you end with?
Yes, it's it's 1/6 of your ultimate the ECTS, the credits that you receive from the MSP. All aspects of it are graded, so it's not just that you produce a thesis at the end and we grade the thesis. You have to produce a proposal to explain what you're going to do. You're graded on your performance when you're doing your practical work. You're graded on your thesis. Also, at the end of the thesis, you also give a defence. You have to give a presentation in front of some of the staff here and the other students. You will be asked a lot of difficult questions, and you'll be graded on that as well. So it's a real all-round affair.
All right. Well, I look forward to the time when I get to start my bachelor thesis, which is not too distant, but a little bit still. But thank you very much, John. Now we will be going to something completely different. After you finish your bachelor thesis, you feel like, oh, now I can go party and things. Well, in the beginning, Matt and Megan were talking about student life, so we have a short video just explaining a bit more about how students live in Maastricht.
Take is heavy with the thought of you. The moment I awake, I'm chasing signs. Never give up, I never give up. It's never enough, it's never enough. You're not the one, it's Yeah, that the sun won't shine on me. I've been holding on for some kind of miracle. I'll be right there if you ever hold. Holding on for some kind of miracle. I'll be right there if you ever
Your future lies ahead, and only one question remains. In which town will it begin?
Welcome back. As you can see, Maastricht is a vibey and jumping place. Great. We're now going to talk a little bit about admissions with Nicole Felix. She was actually part of the admissions process for myself, so I'll be explaining some things myself maybe. But yeah, Nicole, can you explain how the admission process works and who the program is for, things like that?
Well, of course, we are looking for students with passion for science, and all sciences when possible, and mathematics. We like students who love the international atmosphere, because we have more than 70 nationalities,
Wow.
so that's very important. And the program is taught in English, so there should be an English proficiency test when needed. How does it work? We have a Dutch website, and it's called studielink.nl, and a student can register over there, choose Maastricht University, then choose Maastricht Science Program. And after he registered, he will be asked to upload some documents, such as motivation letter, grade list, a passport copy, etc. Then the university will check his diploma, and the Board of Admissions will decide if a student will be invited for an interview, because we are a selective program.
Are there specific requirements on the diploma? Like, do you have to have taken all of the sciences?
No, that's not necessary. It's not mandatory. It's the more sciences, the better, of course. But if a student doesn't graduate in chemistry, for instance, and he has done basic chemistry 2 years before that, then with a good grade, it's also a possibility, of course, that he can register. Yeah.
I mean, personally, I dropped physics in high school. And as was mentioned before by a previous interviewee, there is the first 6 months you have to take different courses that are mandatory, and one of those is like a mathematical physics course. And I passed that even with a basic knowledge of physics, so it's very much possible you don't have to have an in-depth knowledge of everything. Are there different times when people can actually come and join our university?
Yes, we start in February and in September.
Okay. What's the difference between those two?
It's exactly the same. The September group usually is a small group.
The September one?
Sorry, February.
Yeah.
February group is a small group, and September is the bigger group. So they can register all year long. We have deadlines, of course. For the September entry, the deadline is the 1st of May, and for the February entry, it's the 1st of November.
Okay.
For non-EU students, that's 1 month earlier, because we have to check, they get a visa and things like that. It's more work.
And is there like additional costs for non-EU students?
The costs are higher, the tuition fee is higher, of course, and there are visa costs. So they have to prove that they can make a living when they are here, that they have enough money so they can live here and eat here. And
And you mentioned that there are different requirements, such as a motivational letter and an interview, right?
Yes.
Are all the interviews conducted the same, or how does the interview run?
They should be the same, of course, because for every student it should be the same chances to get in.
And who conducts the interviews?
The interview is conducted by me or a colleague of mine and one of the teachers.
And this teacher is then chosen based on the person's motivational letter and what their interests are?
No, it's just random.
Okay.
The teacher who has the room in his agenda has a time slot there, and then he will be asked to do the interview.
All right. Well, as you can see, the admissions procedure is different, but doable, very much so. Thank you very much, Nicole. And we will now cut to another video. I have no idea what video.
Let's conference also be a great demonstration that once you're MSP, you're always MSP. And when you graduate, you never leave the MSP behind. Because the MSP community is always so beautiful, so harmonious.
To learn something, you always learn to harness the wonderful things about the university.
And to see the program developing in such a positive way is amazing.
Your background is unique, so sell it.
We're gonna be the people that think out of the box. And it's extremely beneficial in research because you're gonna see professors gonna just highlight their eyes and just thinking, wow, you're really clever.
Yeah, I mean, alumni conference is the best. I think, today it was very well organized.
First of all, the project periods were great because we were able to design our own projects as well. And that kind of freedom, especially as an undergrad, is rare.
Yeah, definitely.
That
kind of independence.
Have that, and the trust and independence that the staff gives you here is great.
That's what I want. I want people to say MSP is where you gotta be.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And now we're joined again by Roy and Matthew, just to answer some of the questions that were raised in the chat. So the first question comes from Lulu, who is thanking us. Thank you very much, Lulu. And the question is, are internships or exchange programs possible throughout the science program?
Okay, should I
sure.
First give an answer to that? So we have both exchange program and internships. Most students actually go for an internship abroad. It's abroad or not? Is it, or is it just in general?
I think in general.
In general, yeah. So we have exchange programs to go abroad. Only a few, I think, with 5 or 6 partner universities. We have an agreement, and if you wanted to go a semester abroad to study there, you can do that. The whole last semester of a program, so that's 5 months, is an internship basically that you can do in order to learn research, how that works. You design your own proposal. You in company, well, maybe not completely yourself, but with the research group where you're at. You talk with the supervisor, and together you make a research proposal. You do 3 months of practical work, and at the end you write a thesis and you defend that. So that's part standard of the curriculum, and that internship can be at MSP itself or in Maastricht University, another university or research institute in the Netherlands, or again abroad. And quite some students do that abroad as well.
But I think it's also possible if you don't have, if there's no agreement within the universities, it's possible for a student to organize it themselves, right?
Yes.
I mean, obviously then they do have to pay tuition fees on both ends, but it is also a possibility if the program doesn't have the connection.
Yeah, that is true, but it becomes much more indeed complicated. So when we have an exchange agreement, you don't pay any tuition fee. You pay the normal tuition fee, but you can go there without any additional costs, and except for the living, obviously. When you arrange it yourself, indeed you need to pay tuition fee twice because you need to stay registered at our program, but you also need to pay in the other institute, plus all the additional costs, plus all the arrangements you need to make. And things like credit transfer can then be a bit more difficult if we don't have an agreement.
Great. Well, I think that answers that question. If Lulu, if you have any more information you want to know about that, just let us know again. Moving on to the second question by Yikai. What are the requirements to study abroad?
What are the requirements to study abroad? That's a good question.
Well, I think you need a GPA, which is like the group.
Start your thesis. You need to have at least 140 or 145 credits before you can start your thesis at all.
Mm-hmm.
And next to that, you need to have a 7.5 grade point average, so weighted average over all your courses.
Is the 7.5 also for the thesis or only for semester abroad?
That's for going abroad, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that answers that question pretty much.
Okay.
So moving on to the next one. Is the first year of the program mostly focused on the theoretical curriculum, or do students also get to do practical courses and lab work?
I think that's something for you.
Yeah. I think in the first year, especially in the first semester, what I tell people is that because a lot of people come from different backgrounds. What the intro courses are try to bring everybody to the same level of understanding. So there are some courses that are very theoretical based, like intro to bio, intro to chemistry, but there's also practical skills. So we have research methods and also scientific writing, presentations, and data analysis. All this does come into play, and it's quite a big part of our days in MSP as well.
So as soon as you start in the program, you're not just sitting in lecture halls or doing PBL, you actually do go to the lab.
Yeah.
As soon as you come here, you get a tour of the lab, in fact, I think in your first week, right? So.
Yeah, and you do you get biology practicals, you do chemistry practicals,
Exactly.
even physics practical in the first period that you're here, so that you're immediately trained to work in a lab. Yeah.
In all fields, even
in all fields.
I mean, if it's not your interest, maybe it might spark some interest.
Yeah.
So that's a good point
Yes.
about the thing.
Yeah.
Great. Hope that answers your question. The next question is: are students assigned to projects, or do they design them themselves?
Mm-hmm.
How does the project designation work?
Well, I mean, there's different methods. There's usually, if it's your first few projects, there are a guideline or projects based by tutors or supervisors. But as you go into other projects, you are able to pretty much have your own project run. So that depends on what you want to study or what you want to research in. So there's that option as well.
Yeah, so that's nice because there's not the standard set of projects that we always run. So supervisors every project period come up with, I think, 20 to 25 projects that are on offer. And they are of different levels. So when you start, like you said, when you start, you have a 1,000 level project, which is a bit more guided than a 3,000 level project. That's much more open-ended. And you as a student can pick such a project. When you start with a lower level project, and afterwards you can pick yourself one of these project topics. So that makes it very open-ended, and indeed you can do a student-led project in the end if you feel like you want to run your own project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great, I hope that answers your question. The next question is a good question, I think, that I also maybe ask myself, because we are a liberal arts and science program, so it might confuse people. Where does the science aspect come?
Yeah.
The question is, what is the title of the degree we receive?
You get when you graduate here, you get a regular Bachelor of Science degree. So we are a liberal arts and sciences program, but you get a Bachelor of Science degree like you would study in any other regular science bachelor. And the liberal arts and science name is mainly based on the concept than on what we teach. So we don't do the whole full width like, for instance, University College Maastricht does. They do humanities and social sciences and sciences, so they do the whole width. So really liberal arts and sciences. We apply the same concept, so the open curriculum, personal freedom, student-centered, a lot of guidance in terms of academic advising. That concept is called liberal arts and sciences, but we teach only natural sciences.
And there's a second part to this question, which is, would this field depend on the field which you choose? As in, would the degree you get, would it be a Bachelor of Science in a specific field, like in biology, or how does that kind of work? I mean, obviously, we can choose courses from chemistry and biology. So what are the exact degrees that you can get?
Yeah, so
tailored.
You all get the same degree. So if you like physics, you get a Bachelor of Science. If you do biology, you get a Bachelor of Science. And your transcript in the end will show what kind of degree that is.
Yeah. So you get a specialization, right?
But not officially. We don't officially put a name to it because that's against the whole point of the program. We say we don't want to put you into boxes and make it fixed. So your degree will show that, I'm a mix between bio and physics, and whatever the name of that is, well,
that's what it is.
That is what it is. And the program, the master program you will go into, yeah, that needs to suit that, fit that. Yeah, but you just get Bachelor of Science.
Great. Thank you for answering that question elaboratively, Roy. The next question is, what do most students do after graduation? Do they go into further studies like a master's program, or can they go straight into work?
Yeah. Do you?
Well, I mean, in my personal, what I'm going to plan to do is actually, I was working as a dolphin trainer before this, so I do have contacts outside of Maastricht and other places in the world. So I actually plan to start working, but it is in the back of my mind that there's that possibility of going for a PhD much later on, or whenever I feel like it. So it depends on the person and the individual.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that a fair amount of our graduates do go on into a master program, and some of them after our program take a gap year, then go into a master program, or indeed start working. But I think the majority of our students aims for the master program, because there you can really specialize in the thing you really like. And that gives you also a better starting point, I think, for a later, well, academic or research career at least.
And students who have already graduated, every single student who's graduated from our program has been accepted into their first master's choice. So that's obviously a great quota.
That's very good.
Because people will, again, let's link that back to the degree that we get. It's like, oh, you have a liberal arts and science BSc.
Yeah.
Maybe that will hinder me from getting into a master's program that I want, but based on the data that we have received, that's not the case. You can get into the master's program that you apply for in the end.
Yes, and I think that's a very important point, because when you come to this program, I think none of the teachers are really satisfied when you just graduate, but it's we want you to graduate with a degree that you can use to go into the study or the job that you really want to do. So we're not easily satisfied in that sense. So we really need to go further, so that maybe also the bit of the fear of parents that say, you know, if you give students all the freedom of choice, they will just pick some easy courses and it ends up nowhere. We can see based from our graduates that is really not the case.
Mm-hmm.
People get really into very prestigious, even master programs if they want to. And I think that's a great proof that this concept really works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hope we answered your question. The next question regards the admissions process, things like that. There are multiple parts to this question. Are recommendation letters required for the application? So, recommendation letter, in terms of what I think a recommendation letter is, another university saying this is a good student, or there's.
Well, you have both applied here.
Yeah.
So did you send in recommendation
we
letters?
did not send in recommendation letters. We did, however, send in motivational letters. So this is basically what you're trying to prove to the university, or showcase why you should be accepted into this program. You have to motivate your interests, your future career aspects, things like that.
And I think besides that also is why this motivational letter is important. Also is for the school to see how they can help you in getting into where you want to be in the future. So it's not so much if you're a good choice for the university, but also if the university is a good choice for you.
Yes, I think that's a very important point, because it's not one direction. Because the motivation letter and the associated interview is really about, do we match up? So do we feel you will fit in our program, but also for you to see, do we fit you? Because it might be that you don't feel very happy at this program. Maybe you don't like PBL. So the motivation letter is really important, and maybe as a tip, I would also advise you not to write a letter that with answers that you think we like to hear, because A, we will see that from the letter, but also B, you will really disfavor yourself, because it's really not about that. We want to have an open discussion. So all students will tell me that they like PBL very much, because they think that is what I like to hear. But maybe I really want to have a more open opinion on what do you think is good about a system, etc.
So the second part of the question is, what are the questions in the interview about? This is a little bit, I mean, we obviously can't tell you, because you need to get into the interview process and then experience it for yourself. But there is a general guideline, I believe, online on the website, where it tells you this is what the interview kind of focuses on. I know when I went through the interview process, there were specific pointers that they made sure maybe you should focus on these kind of things.
Yes.
I'm not sure if we have a link to that. If someone could send that,
Well, the questions depend very much on you, because it depends on what you have done before. It depends on what you write in your motivational letter,
And I mean, it cannot be, I mean, I don't think I say anything weird if you say, well, we will try to find out why you want to be here. Why do you think this program is suited for you? So that would be a question I would ask, maybe not like this, but in another way. Why do you think you would be here? And you need to show us a bit that you can think critically and that you know what you're going for. So that's why I also said I don't want to showcase shallow, socially nice answer. You just need to go into depth why you want to be in this program, and the questions will be about that.
Yeah, there's another part says, is the interview testing our science knowledge?
Yeah, it's
not really.
Yeah, it wouldn't be so much testing your scientific knowledge, but I think an important thing to bring up is that it's also an interview for you to ask whoever is interviewing you to see if you have any questions about the university, maybe the living situation or anything along those lines. You can also ask the interviewer the same thing. It's supposed to be a very casual thing, so it's fine.
Yeah, and it's not about sorry, it's not about your knowledge, because we have your high school transcript and we see if how you perform in all these areas. So we're not, the interview's not set up for that, but it's really, like you say, to test, is there a match between you and us? And that is sort of the discussion that we have. Yeah.
Great. I think we've answered that question. Moving on, the next question is, what is the difference between ECTS and GPA? Is the former also a measure of how well we do at the university, or only for how many courses we've taken?
Well, if I'm getting this right, the ECTS is basically a credit system that for each course you get a specific amount. Yeah. So for the courses that we have here, the courses are ECTS are 5 credits, and for the practicals they're 2.5. And for projects, they're also 5. So in the end of your career here in MSP, you would have
I think
180
or
180. So it's slightly different from GPA. GPA is basically your grade point average or your progression in how well you're doing.
Yeah. So the GPA is indeed something tells you about how good you perform in the exams we give you. So if and it's a weighted average. So if a course is 5 credits and you score an 8, it's 5 times 8 plus 2.5 for a skill times 7, etc. And in this way, an average grade is calculated. And if, for instance, in the end you score above 8 and a bit, I think you are a cum laude graduate. And indeed, the ECTS system, it's called the European Credit Transfer System. So one ECTS equals 28 hours of workload. And if you do a course of 5 credits, it means it's 5 times 28 hours in terms of workload. And it's a European system, so it's very comparable. If you get 5 credits from a Paris university, we know that's comparable in workload to 5 credits of an hour program.
Yeah, and when you take a course, you don't get anything less than 5 if you pass the course. So if you pass the course, you'll get the 5 credits automatically, and then those obviously, like Roy was explaining, add up to your GPA in the end.
Yeah, all the grades do. Yes.
Exactly, yeah. All right, hope that answers the question. The next question is about living in Maastricht. Maybe me and Matt can take it.
Yeah, maybe that's a good one. Although I also live in Maastricht.
There we go. Right, so the question is, do you have dormitories for international students within the university campus?
Well, within the university campus, we don't, but
there is a...
University of Maastricht does have a kind of a partnership with student hotels and different, quote-unquote dormitories. They're more just student accommodations. So there are companies such as Jules, the student hotel, other companies like Maastricht Housing. And these different areas allow you to find accommodations pretty easily.
Maybe good to mention, we don't really have a campus, right?
Yeah, so our different faculties are spread throughout the city. We have, if you look at Maastricht, there's a river running through the middle. We have some on the right side of the river, some campuses on the left side of the river. So there's not really a set place where students all live. They're scattered throughout the city. Some even live in Belgium because we're so close to the border. But I do want to mention there is, usually for Erasmus students or students coming on an exchange for maybe 6 months or so, there is not a hotel, but a hostel kind of that is associated with the university, which is obviously also open to anyone, but you do still have to pay rent fees, and the rooms are shared with someone else. But yeah,
there's a lot of different accommodations, and I guess I was talking to my friend yesterday while walking through the city of Maastricht, and I was saying this period where we're at now is actually really nice. Maastricht is a really quiet city when you want it to be, and then other times you can have parties anywhere else in the city. And I think Maastricht is just a really nice place if you're looking for a medium between a city and a town, because you have the best of both worlds, I would say.
All right, hope that answers your question. If anything else comes up, please feel free to ask again. Going on to the next question. Because the Maastricht Science program is a 3-year program, does this ever present itself as a problem when applying outside of the Netherlands for graduate studies, seeing as typical undergraduate studies last 4 years? Can I do the Maastricht Science program in 4 years instead of 3?
Well, if you get a study delay, you can indeed do it in 4 years, but I don't think that would be very advisable. I'm also not sure if all study programs abroad are 4 years.
Well,
I don't think so.
I'm from South Africa, and universities typically in South Africa, you do have it's a 4-year degree, or it's either 3 years, and then in another year you do what we call our bachelor thesis. So usually you do 3 years of courses, whereas we do 2.5 years and then half a year of writing your bachelor thesis. So this half a year is then spread out in most universities, or most traditional universities throughout the world, is then spread out throughout 1 whole year. So that would maybe be where you're thinking about the whole 4-year thing, because you do 3 years of courses and a thesis or something like that. But it's I guess compressed, which it's also within the European Union, it's compressed into 3 years. So.
And it's not so much about the time, it's about your degree. So
Exactly.
what they will look at is if you have a Bachelor of Science degree, then it doesn't matter if that degree took you 4 years or 3 years, but that degree gives you entrance into a master program. So you don't need to extend your studies because you have that degree, and that's enough to be able to enter. And these programs, these master programs start every year. So no matter at what moment you stop and you have your degree, you can just enter, if you have the right prerequisites, that program. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for asking the question. The next question comes from Gabriella, and she asked for personal experiences with research-based learning. So, I mean, we can all give our opinion. So, I think Matt is also, we're both very much focused on the biological kind of thing. So, in the beginning, let's start way back when you start with research methods, which is like the first research-based learning that you do. What I found on a personal level is you come into the lab and you're given a lot of freedom. You're given, like, obviously a worksheet or a protocol that you have to follow, but within that protocol you're allowed freedom to experiment with different things. Obviously it tells you use this much of a solution if you're doing a chemical lab, but there's not a set guideline of exactly how to get something done, which I guess is a very good thing for future research, because when you're put into a research group in the future, when you're working, you don't come in and get something where you have to follow step by step. As in high school, when I was doing high school chemistry, you got a protocol and it told you every single step, everything that you should be seeing, everything that should be happening. Whereas when you're doing research-based learning here within our university, you kind of get thrown in the deep end, but it's not in a negative sense. It's in a sense of the deep end, but you're exploring, you know?
I think it also depends on the level that you're at. Like Max was referring more to research methods. So you do biology lab, chemistry lab, physics lab, maybe biochemistry. And later on in the future of the process of MSP, you do have different labs such as genetics, practical zoology, microbiology, and they all differ a certain way, but they do prepare you really well for further studies or even to be in the industry, because it gives you the soft skills that you need to make decisions like, okay, this is what I need to do. And I think a lot of our lecturers and tutors are also very lenient. They're also they want you to explore more. So what you need from the labs, you can literally just go and get it yourself, unless it's a very dangerous chemical or something. But like if you need glassware, if you need maybe a certain kind of instrument, you can just go and get it, and that's really fine.
And what about a lot of the RBL takes place in the project period? So what about your experiences with doing your research-based learning in the project period?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my project-based learnings was a little bit different from Max. I was working with ladybugs. I can't say too much because it's an ongoing study. But what is really interesting is that while I was doing that project, I managed to find a certain aspect of it that wasn't looked before. And John, which Max spoke to before, he actually said that you can actually use this and write your own paper. So that's what John and I are actually doing now, and we're working on another project besides project-based learning.
Yeah, I mean, within the projects you're given a general guideline. I had a project with Roy at the Natural History Museum. We were given a general guideline. This is what the Natural History Museum is all about. There's a herbarium, which is a collection of old plant specimens, and then we were kind of given the freedom to find the aspect that we want to research within the herbarium. So we could look at different collections and see what different specimens there were, or we could have chosen a completely different aspect. It was very much up to us, but obviously you do have the support from or guidance from a lecturer, so you're not thrown in and then said, well, you can do whatever, I'll see you in 4 weeks. Yeah. You have an ongoing communication with the lecturer.
And like the courses, it's the same, they're different levels. So there's a level 1000 project, and then as you go on to 2000 and 3000s, the supervisors, they do give you more freedom, or they try to give you more freedom to carry your own, conduct your own experience without interfering too much, because that's, I guess in the end, that's what they really want as well.
Yeah, maybe it's good to add from a teacher perspective. The RBL experience is very nice, because the reason why we don't use standardized protocols is because they're too easy. So you will do the steps and then you are satisfied that you're done. But what we give our students in an RBL setting is actually projects that have a high chance that something goes wrong. And that can be extremely frustrating for the students and very annoying. But this frustration and annoyance leads to a lot of learning, because you need to figure out why things went wrong. What should I do then? So the nicest, especially the nicest projects are the ones that tremendously fail. But you see that the students learn really a lot from that. And the projects that go right is like, okay, we've done the protocol and we found the result, that is the result, that's all nice. So these RBL settings is really important for personal growth and also for acquiring knowledge, because you really need to understand what you're doing.
That's true. Great. I hope we answered your question. The next question comes from Daria. Are there any charity and community service projects I could join? I hope you mean projects in the sense of what we've been talking about right now, right?
I don't know, maybe I don't know, Aperture has a charity committee.
That's true,
I don't know if that is
that's another aspect.
Another aspect. So we have our students association, I should say, a study association. They have a charity committee, and they, for instance, they sell cookies, or they sell pancakes, waffles here in the courtyard behind us every week, and with that money that goes to charity. So they do have some of these things that you could join, I think.
Exactly. And they also do, they kind of ask for suggestions of charities that maybe you want to donate in. And then usually at the start of every year, everybody comes together and says like, oh, this is a charity that maybe we want to work to. And then we'll all kind of decide collectively which charity we want to donate to.
And if you would join us and you come here, you can always start up your own initiative, because there's a lot of room at MSP to start your own initiative. So it's not only that you need to join something that is set and that is it. Exactly. You can, if you really feel something's missing, you can add it.
I mean, we're also like quite a tightly knit group, so we everyone kind of knows each other. If you want to start something up, I'm pretty sure it's pretty easy to get a group together. You don't have to be afraid to, I don't know. Yeah, you'll definitely find different people that will want to join what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for your question. Another question is, if either of you took the IB program in high school. I did not. I
didn't take IB.
You did?
But I didn't take.
Okay.
But I do have some friends that
did you find the program adequately prepared you for the studies at Maastricht?
Maybe shall I?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I can speak. I do have a few friends that did IB before. They do say that it's pretty similar. It depends on the course. It does prepare you in terms of maybe presentations and scientific writing. It does prepare you adequately enough. But obviously, because this is university level, we do try to push it a little bit further. So IB does give you the basics that you do need.
Yeah, I also heard that many IB students find it sort of a natural follow-up of their program, because the way we run our projects, and indeed at a higher level, that's all true. But in terms of the culture and the way things run, that transfer is quite natural. I've been speaking to somebody last week actually who went after IB to a traditional Dutch university, and she said, well, she had sort of a culture shock, and that's why she was thinking of joining us, because this felt much more natural in terms of what she was used to. Also the international setting, I think that's something particular for IB that you find here, the way of working you find here, the close-knit community. So yes, I don't think that's a particular problem. I think that's actually a natural follow-up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but also if you don't come from an IB background, I mean, maybe there's some people watching who haven't done IB. I did the German Abitur system, and even from that, following up to the Maastricht Science program, I did everything in German in my high school. Coming here, everything is in English. It's not a struggle, maybe from the language barrier, but also in terms of curriculum and the different subjects and things like that. Studying it's a natural follow-up, just like Roy was saying, for the IB program, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I came from Singapore, so most of the, I guess, educational systems are pretty similar. So you wouldn't find much difference, because we do have some PBLs universities in Singapore as well.
Yeah, and it depends, obviously it depends very much on how you yourself come here.
Yeah.
If you come here like, I will do what I have always done, or are you open to new experiences? Yeah. So maybe if you're not used to our way of teaching, maybe the first 2 months will be very weird, but if you open yourself up to that and really try to accommodate, in general, people are very well able to, after the first half year, to really enjoy the benefits of the educational system. Yeah.
All right, we hope you answered your question. The final question comes from Kevin. How have you coped with the workload of MSP while having to live independently?
Nice question.
Well, I mean, like my interview before, I did say that we do have a lot of different student associations. So one thing that living alone, I guess, especially if it's your first time away or maybe in a different country from where you're usually from, the workload isn't that bad, but because I think it's more self-driven, and the courses that you do pick, you're more passionate in, so you kind of want to figure out more. And it's not, these questions that you have to research aren't just from the tutors. These are questions from your peers, and maybe questions that you had yourself that you really want answers to. So if you're the kind of person that feels like if you find yourself on Wikipedia or finding yourself looking at different articles, this will actually really be nice, because it's kind of a natural thing for you and you really want to know more. And I guess living alone with sports associations as well, there are just so many in Maastricht. There's, like, I'm in rugby, there's football, field hockey, so many different kinds. And I think it's a good balance between school and just living alone.
I mean, maybe when you're coming from home, I know my mother was maybe a little bit strict when it came to, do your assignment now, you know, you have a deadline to reach, and I was very free in what I did, obviously, but then she did put a little bit of pressure on me, and obviously coming abroad here, I'm living on my own, there's no mom to tell me, have you finished your assignment now? But that's another great aspect about university life in general, or as a whole, is you learn to manage your time. You know, like, oh damn, I need to hand in an assignment maybe that's due tomorrow. Hopefully you figure that out a week before. But it's a good way to manage your time. So the workload could be high, but you learn to balance like fun and work, so that you're not stressed out or completely gonna burn out. But even if you do like have a burnout, or if you feel like it's too much for me, there's always people within the MSP that you can talk to about things like that.
Yeah.
They can help you out.
Part of the learning how to study, learning how to balance these things. Yeah, that's something you will learn, and now and then maybe you party a bit too long, and then your assignment is not well, and then you get a bad grade, and well, that's it. I mean, then you know for next time, and you can avoid it or not and make a mistake again. I mean, that's sort of for you to figure out as well. So, and again, as long as you're open about it and realistic, then you will be able to cope with this. Obviously, if you're only partying and just ignoring all bad study results, then nothing will happen. But if you're open to it and really think, like, how can I deal with this, and you are serious about that should not be an issue.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is all the questions that we have received. Thank you very much for watching the live stream, and maybe you can join us next open day, or if you actually want to join the program now, feel free to come by. We have student for a days, or if you're already writing up your admissions as we're speaking, good luck to you, and we hope to see you at the Maastricht Science program in the future. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Max.
Cool.